Welcome to a new episode of Around the Mic. I'm your host, Rick. Today I've got the usual crowd, Aaron, Beth, and Jimmy. We've got a wide variety of topics today, but before we get into anything brand new, we wanted to revisit a previous topic that we had on our last show, Final Fantasy VII Remake. The same day that we had recorded, we found out later some new details about it that are very unsettling to us.
I wish I hadn't found those out.
The episodic nature of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it at all.
I'm so happy about it. So happy.
Why?
Not happy at all.
Sarcasm.
Well, tell us why you're not happy about it first, Ben.
It concerns me because I know they want to add a bunch of stuff, and that's one of the big reasons why they're trying to spread out this content. But I like the game as it is. I don't think you need to add new story to it. The reason that I was excited about it was because I wanted to get the same story and that same feeling back.
Well, then how would you respond to a lot of people's criticisms that the big issue with it is that a lot of things in it really kind of go unexplained, which is ultimately what they're trying to do with that.
I think you can do that, but do it with like download content. Get the story, put it out there, and then let me do some flashback DLC or something. I think there's other ways that they could do it that would work better than the episodic. It just seems to me like it's a ploy to maybe spread your game out to get more, I don't know, buy more throughout the year than one big selling point. That maybe that's part of it.
Absolutely. That's what I have to say too. But I am interested to see what they will add with the episodic content. I mean, I'm not going to buy them outright right as they come out, but I will be interested to see what they do actually add to it. Because I did enjoy the extra side stories. You know, I really liked Advent Children. I really liked the other story where it told more about Cloud and Zack. And so I will be interested to see the episodes. But am I going to buy in right away? No. Because I do think I agree with you that it is a cash ploy, absolutely. Unless they're like $20.
Yeah, it's
because
really
I have a feeling they're going to be
price
40,
point. Yeah.
and that's too much. That's just
You really think they're going to push it that high?
I can't see them doing that.
You
Like,
really think
no.
so? How much they're hurting for cash and why they finally have pulled this Final Fantasy
I mean, but
VII
I can even
lever?
see them
They-
pricing it
yeah.
as, because you have to look with all of the re-releases, say, of the mobile ports. You know, those are only $15 a piece.
But they've already done the work.
Well, I mean, that's true, but, you know, they also realize that, you know, and they've said many times that even with Final Fantasy 15, this is going to make or break their company.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think we've heard that a few times now.
With what?
Well, yeah, but this time
With the
they
other
have
Final
pulled
Fantasies.
Final Fantasy
No,
VII
not
out
like
of
this.
their back pocket, though.
Yeah.
This is the game that they
Right.
were not going to do that with. They were never going to remake
Oh, this is just a
game.
tech demo. We
Yeah,
have no intention
yeah.
ever of doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the famous
so, I mean,
PS3 trailer.
I don't know. That
Or
kind of
demo.
throws out to me that it is a money grab. Not that I'm not excited about Final Fantasy VII. I really, really, really want to play it, but please just don't mess with it too much. The original story, like let me have that, and then add your DLC content with your extra stories.
So do you guys, so you all are anticipating larger episodic content or smaller episodic content?
Well, no, they've said that each episode is going
It's
to be
gonna
like
be
a
like a
full
game.
game.
Oh.
Like
Yeah.
a full
Yeah.
60-hour
more than a
game.
disc.
you
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
if they're gonna do this episodic stuff, it needs to be more than disc one.
Gotcha.
Like, I
Yeah.
need more than just Midgar and I guess we go to like the tunnel, Zolan.
See, my initial concern was that I thought they were
first,
just
I
going to, spread this out over, 10 different episodes where they could charge $10 a pop and make $40 over the standard price of a game. That was my initial concern. But if they're releasing
That's not how they're doing it. though.
each episode as large as a full game, then that's a different story. But I mean, it's supposed to be one game, but you're kind of taking it and breaking it up into many different games and possibly charging full price for that. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
If the episodes
Yeah.
are full price individually, that will be insane.
Which, if they're going to be the size of a full game, they could easily do that.
I guess that could be the argument.
But are they
Yeah.
gonna? But I don't think that they would, risk making their customers mad like that, because the Final Fantasy crowd is already on the outs with the
Very
past
voracious.
like 3 games that they've done and 2 spin-offs.
Well,
you know what I
and,
mean?
and
Like,
let's not forget, Final Fantasy XIV was completely reworked. It was
Yeah.
released, and then the subscriptions were given out for free
For
while they
like a
completely-
year.
For a
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
while they completely reworked that game. And I don't think that they want a rehash of that whole situation with either the Final Fantasy remake or VII Remake or Final Fantasy 15.
Right.
And I think that if they draw it out episodically, that might be where they head with it. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
I hope this extra content
Scary.
that they're wanting to add to it really fleshes out the story. I mean, I hope it's justified.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it needs to, and I think that it will be, because I've actually gone back to play the original 7, just because I wanted to brush up, and because a lot of it I have forgotten, because it has been, 10 years since I've played it.
Right.
An
And-
episode about Genova would be awesome.
But,
Yeah.
but
I
going back
agree.
and playing it, the story is very disjointed. There is a lot that just doesn't make sense at all. So I think that if they do go back and fill in the blanks as they say that they're going to, I think I can understand. I might not be happy,
Yeah.
because I think that whenever nowadays we're so used to the whole Telltale model of episodic that I think that that's what everybody's expecting.
That's true.
And I
Probably.
don't
That's
think
true.
that that's what it's going to be
I
like.
hope not, because that's terrifying to me.
It'd be really cool to see more of the backstories of the individual party members. Like, I really want to know more about Red 13, what his story's all about.
Revenge.
Or
Because
hear
he's a
about
Genova test, yeah.
right, and then maybe and of
Or
course
about his
Barrett's-
father too, because they,
Yeah.
Right.
defended that place,
That's
and he thought that his father was a coward. But then you get this whole big, huge backstory when they go there. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So I could totally be down with that.
Shit, I guess they could pull this off.
I could, right? And when you really think about it,
I
'cause at
hate
first
this
I was like,
justification.
right. Well, and then too, something else is that, and I had totally forgot about how bad the ending is in the game, and that's something. It's just so,
It's been so long I've forgotten what that ending's like.
right. Well, it's
Children fills in a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
well, right, and
That's
it
true,
does,
too.
but. How long was it between the release of
A lot.
7 and Advent Children? You know what I mean? So, but it was the meteor comes down,
Right.
and then it flashes 500 years into the
Spoiler alert.
future. Oh well, if you haven't seen
Yeah.
it by now, then
Yeah.
You have to remember that there's a new
Right.
generation that hasn't played Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII.
There's
that this
somebody who
remake is going to
dies
be
that you
on.
Oh, too late.
Yeah.
But
I'm
anyway,
just saying, you don't have
Right.
to blurt it all out.
right? Well, again,
But
Anyways.
you're right. But you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then
Yes.
it flash forwards 500 years,
Yeah.
and you just see Red 13 running around with some pups.
I had totally
and then
forgot about the
that's
flash
that's
forward.
that's the end, and then it goes to stars.
Well, I
That's
think
it.
it's going to really
Okay.
all come down to how big each episode actually is and the actual cost. I think the cost is really going to make or break them on it.
Yeah, I agree.
I just went into. I'm sure that a lot of it might have to do with how well 15 does if they release
Yeah,
that first,
yeah.
because if they get a huge influx of cash from that,
I'm not excited
then
for
that would
15.
help to
Could
produce.
make 7 even better.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
that could be maybe that's the issue. Maybe they don't have the cash to finish
Maybe
the
it
entire
is.
game right at the beginning.
Well, that's a good
you
point.
know, like,
Never thought about
That's
that.
that's a very
Yeah.
controversial statement. I think.
hey, we speak the truth here on Around.
Well, we don't know if that's true,
No,
but
allegedly.
it's a possibility.
Right, I mean, right, exactly. It's a possibility.
You never know.
Yeah, no,
You
because
know.
it sounds very plausible to me.
Because
Why-
especially
how
with-
else would you do it?
Because you have to think too is that as big of a game as it was for the time, they're having to totally rebuild it from the ground up. You know what I mean? So like that's a
Yes.
lot of money, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of manpower, especially when they're sitting here doing 15 at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
where is all that money and manpower coming from? You know?
Yeah. Especially if you haven't had games be very successful in the last few. So.
Right, exactly. So,
Well, Sony, it looks like we may have talked ourselves into being okay with this episodic nature.
No, we didn't.
You know?
I'm not
I don't
100%
know.
until I see the numbers.
Right, we need to see it.
Right.
I'm not okay with it till I do see it.
So our viewers, please let us know what you guys think about this
Yeah.
episodic nature of the Final Fantasy VII release. Hate it, love it. Elaborate on what you think they might be able to do as far as additional content. We'd love to hear about
Or
it.
where you'd like to see it go
Yeah,
if they're going to
absolutely.
add stuff.
In keeping with Final Fantasy, the next topic I wanted to go over briefly is the Steam release of Final Fantasy VI/3. There's some grumblings over the visuals of it. Apparently, it's a port from the iOS version of Final Fantasy VI. And some people are thinking, well, they could have done better as far as the visuals concerned when they brought it over to PC. What do you guys think?
I don't like the overworld stuff, the way that it is. It looks too bright, too visual, too cartoony. And the game originally was, kind of dark, kind of grainy.
That's
kind
true.
Of,
Well,
it had an overtone. I will say, though, the one thing I do absolutely love about it is the character portraits. They are beautiful. They are so wonderful. And honestly, for that reason alone, I do plan on getting it because they just the art is one thing, but the characters talk a lot and it's a lot about the dialogue. So being able to have those beautiful character portraits means a lot to me.
Well, you also have to think too, though, is whenever it first came out and it was released on the Super Nintendo system, they didn't have the option for all of the colors that they do now. So maybe that's
that was an
why
art back
it's so
then. Look
dark.
up how they pulled off some of those chroma key
Well,
palettes where
but-
it was
no.
sub-pixels and they would... I'm just talking about the technicals of it.
Right.
It's an art.
Well, but you have
Of an
a
age.
good example is that, and this is something I don't know, who if you all know, but initially in the very first Mario Brothers, Princess Toadstool, aka Peach, was a brunette but she was always supposed to be a blonde because they couldn't do yellow as a color. Same thing for the Super Nintendo. So maybe this always was intended to be bright and pastel.
What color was her hair in Donkey Kong?
Okay.
That was Paulette.
I find very hard to
Or
believe
Pauline.
that,
Pauline.
That's
Yeah,
right,
that's
that's
something different. So,
That's right.
so
Mario's
you
a
have to think
player.
that as now they have the technology to do this again without totally reworking the game. The visuals are fine. They're I have no problem with them because especially if you look at side by side comparisons, because that's what a lot of people have said is that the 16 pixel sprites are way better than the new ones that are out because they're just not as detailed. Bull.
I will think that, and I think they look a little blurry. I think
See,
they have a
and
lot of
that's- I
AA on them, a lot of anti-aliasing that takes off those edges, and that's what I like about my old school games is those harsh pixels, those harsh edges.
It's the charm.
squares. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't know. that's the truth. Is I do have the cart. I can go pop in my SNES and play it if I want to.
Your brand new one that you found.
Well, not that one. That one's staying in the box.
Gotcha. Different story.
That
Different
one's
time.
just in case.
But
one.
the thing about too is with this version is
I
that
still wanna get this
evidently
new one, though.
it's uncensored, whereas a lot of the other releases had censored parts to them.
There
Oh.
are some really funny. I did not know that actually. That's
Oh.
awesome.
So,
That's
for
really
example, what parts were censored?
I don't know.
There's
'cause I
a
haven't
bath
gotten there yet.
scene, of course, because this is a Japanese one, where you get Go to Walk In, I think it is, the animal boy.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? I think it's a little grimmer. No, it's Locke, I think, the thief, walks in on the Esper chick. And
Tara.
also in a bath. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think there's two scenes like that. But yeah. And one
Sounds great. I'm glad they're uncensored now.
you don't see anything, it's pixels. And even in the day, I think it was all just,
Then
white and
what's the
steam.
point of uncensoring pixels?
I think it's uncensored in the sense that you can actually get to those
The
scenes
scene.
and
Oh,
activate
okay,
them.
okay.
They were just removed. The triggers were removed in our versions, the North American versions. You just
Gotcha.
couldn't activate the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just activated
Okay.
triggers is all.
And a lot of people have that purist when it comes to video games.
They want the complete game.
Exactly
Funny
as it's supposed to
moments,
be.
yeah,
Right.
I mean-
Right.
Hence a lot of the worry about the VII Remake. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
right.
afraid of all that
Right.
censorship, so that we promise we won't get. So we'll see.
I think we're gonna have a really hot Cloud.
I hope so. I'm so excited to see that scene.
I'm gonna make sure I get the best panties for him. That's the whole point.
Also, we've gone back to 7 now.
Well, it all ties in together.
Yeah.
so.
They're all Final Fantasies.
Well, let us know what you guys think about the brand new Final Fantasy VI. If you like the old new graphical style, or if you thought that they should do a much better job at upgrading the graphics on Steam.
All right, go.